Hello there, dear ones. My name is Eleanor, and I'm going to tell you something that'll probably shock you. Last month I turned 89 years old. 89. And you know what? My doctor looked at me during my annual checkup. Yes, I still drive myself to those appointments, thank you very much. And he shook his head like he'd seen a ghost. Eleanor, he said, I don't understand it. Your cognitive tests are perfect. Your memory is sharper than patients half your age. You're not on a single medication, not one. In 40 years of practice, I've never seen anything like it. Now, before you think I'm here to brag or sell you some miracle supplement, let me stop you right there. I'm not selling anything. I'm here because I'm angry. I'm angry at a world that's convinced you that getting older means getting sick, getting confused, and giving up. I'm here because too many of you beautiful souls are sitting in your homes right now, terrified of what's coming next. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a load of garbage. And if you'll give me a few minutes of your time, I'll tell you exactly why. You see, I wasn't always this way. Oh no, don't you think for a second that I came out of the womb with some special gene or lucky charm hanging around my neck. 20 years ago, when I was a young 69-year-old, I was headed straight down the same path as everyone else my age. I was on 4 different medications. Blood pressure pills that made me dizzy, cholesterol medication that made my muscles ache, something for my pre-diabetes that made me feel like I was walking through molasses, and sleeping pills because the doctor said that's just what happens when you get older. I remember sitting in my kitchen one morning. This was right after my husband Frank passed, God rest his soul. And I was trying to open one of those damn pill organizers. You know the ones, with the little compartments for each day of the week. My hands were shaking so badly from the medication side effects that I couldn't even get the thing open. And I started crying. Not the pretty kind of crying you see in movies, but the ugly, soul-deep sobbing that comes from somewhere so deep you didn't even know it existed. I cried because I felt like I was disappearing. Like the woman I'd been for 69 years was slowly being erased by pills and doctor's appointments, and people talking to me like I was already half gone. That's when I got mad. Really, truly mad. I looked at that pill organizer and I said out loud, and I'm not embarrassed to admit this, I said, Frank, if you're up there watching this, you better give me a sign, because I'm about to do something that's either really smart or really stupid. The next day, I fired my doctor. Now, before you go thinking I'm some kind of reckless old fool, let me explain. I didn't just stop taking everything cold turkey and hope for the best. I found a new doctor, a younger woman who actually listened when I talked, instead of just nodding and reaching for her prescription pad. Dr. Sarah, that's her name. She looked at my file and asked me something no doctor had asked me in years. Eleanor, how do you want to feel? How do I want to feel? Nobody had asked me that. They'd asked me about my symptoms, my numbers, my family history. But how did I want to feel? Like myself again, like Eleanor, not like some generic old lady checking boxes on a medical form. And you know what we discovered? Most of what I was taking was treating the side effects of other things I was taking. It was like a house of cards, And when we carefully, slowly, started taking away the cards I didn't really need, the whole wobbly structure got stronger, not weaker. Now, I need to pause here and talk directly to you, the person watching this. If you're dealing with your own health challenges, if you're feeling lost in a system that seems to see you as a collection of problems instead of a whole human being, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not too old to fight for yourself. You are not too old to feel good again. And if this message is hitting you right here, right in that place where you keep your hope locked away, would you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button. Not because I need the numbers, but because I need you to make a commitment to yourself. A commitment to keep fighting, to keep learning, to keep believing that your best days don't have to be behind you. Subscribe, and let's take this journey together. Now let me tell you what I think made the real difference. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some of this might make you uncomfortable, and I'm okay with that. Truth often does. First, I stopped acting old. You heard me right. I stopped using my age as an excuse for everything that was hard or uncomfortable or challenging. When someone offered to carry my groceries, I started saying, "No, thank you, but I appreciate the offer." When people spoke to me slowly like I was a child, I called them on it. Politely, but firmly. I started lifting weights. Yes, at 70 years old, I walked into a gym and hired a trainer. The young man looked at me like I was about to break into pieces, but I told him, "Treat me like you would treat your grandmother if your grandmother was a tough old bird who doesn't take nonsense from anybody." I learned to use a smartphone. Then I learned to use a computer. Then I learned to use social media. Not because I had to, but because I refused to let the world leave me behind. Every time someone said, "Oh, that's too complicated for someone your age," I made it my mission to prove them wrong. But here's the thing that really changed everything, and this is where I might lose some of you. I stopped trying to be polite all the time. You see, my generation was raised to be agreeable, to not make waves, to smile and nod and defer to authority figures, especially doctors and other professionals. And for many years that served me well. But somewhere along the way, I realized that being agreeable was slowly killing me. When doctors talked over me, I started interrupting them. When they recommended treatments I didn't want, I said no. When they used medical jargon to confuse me into compliance, I made them explain things in plain English. Some of them didn't like it. Some of them weren't used to patients who pushed back. And you know what? That told me everything I needed to know about whether they were the right doctors for me. I also started saying no to family members who wanted to wrap me in bubble wrap. My daughter Linda, bless her heart, wanted me to move into one of those senior communities where they serve you 3 meals a day and organize your activities like you're in kindergarten. She meant well, but I told her, absolutely not. This is my house, where I raised my children and loved my husband, and they can carry me out of here feet first, thank you very much. I started traveling alone. At 75, I took my first solo trip to Italy. People thought I'd lost my mind. "What if something happens?" they asked. "What if you get lost?" And I told them, "Then I'll figure it out. I've been figuring things out for 75 years, and I think I've gotten pretty good at it." That trip changed something in me. walking through the streets of Rome by myself, navigating train stations, ordering meals in broken Italian. I remembered who I was underneath all those layers of other people's expectations. I was Eleanor. I was smart. I was capable. And I was not ready to sit in a rocking chair waiting to die. When I came home from that trip, people said I looked different, younger somehow, and I think they were right. Not because I'd had any work done or found some fountain of youth, but because I'd remembered what it felt like to feel truly alive. I also changed what I ate, but not in the way you might think. I didn't go on some restrictive diet or eliminate entire food groups. Instead, I started cooking again, really cooking, not just heating up frozen dinners or eating cereal for lunch because it was easy. I started going to the farmers market every Saturday morning. I talked to the vendors, learned about their produce, tried new things. I rediscovered vegetables I hadn't eaten in years. I started growing herbs in my kitchen window. Small things, maybe, but they made me feel connected to life again, connected to nourishment in a way that went beyond just filling my stomach. And here's something that might surprise you. I started dancing again. Every morning before I do anything else, I put on music and I dance in my kitchen for at least 10 minutes. Sometimes it's Frank Sinatra, sometimes it's the Beatles, and sometimes, and don't you dare judge me, it's something my great-granddaughter showed me on Spotify that has a beat that makes my body want to move. My neighbors probably think I've lost my mind, and maybe I have. But if this is what crazy looks like, I'll take it over what normal looked like 20 years ago. I also started learning new things. Real things, not just crossword puzzles and word games that are supposed to keep my brain sharp. I took a painting class at the community college. I learned Spanish through one of those apps on my phone. I joined a book club where we read books that challenged me, made me think, made me argue with the other members about big ideas. The woman who taught my painting class was probably 40 years younger than me, and at first she treated me like a delicate flower who might break if she criticized my work too harshly. But I told her straight out, "Honey, I'm not here to make pretty pictures to stick on my refrigerator. I'm here to learn. If my painting is terrible, tell me it's terrible. If it needs work, tell me how to fix it. I've been receiving feedback for 89 years and I can handle it." By the end of that class, she was pushing me harder than anyone else in the room, and my paintings got better because of it. But maybe the most important thing I did was I started being honest about my feelings. For too many years, I'd smile and say, "I'm fine," when people asked how I was doing, even when I wasn't fine, even when I was lonely or scared or frustrated. I thought that's what people wanted to hear, especially from someone my age. But you know what? People can handle your truth, and more importantly, you deserve to tell your truth. When someone asks how you are and you're having a bad day, it's okay to say, "I'm having a bad day." When you're worried about something, it's okay to say, "I'm worried." When you're excited about something, it's okay to show that excitement, even if other people think you should be more dignified at your age. I started telling people when they said things that hurt my feelings. When cashiers at the grocery store called me sweetie or hun like I was their grandmother, I started saying, "My name is Eleanor, and I'd prefer if you used it." When people made assumptions about what I could or couldn't do based on my age, I corrected them. And you know what happened? I started attracting different kinds of people into my life. People who saw me as a whole person, not just an old lady to be polite to and then forgotten. I made new friends, real friends, people who challenge me and laugh with me and sometimes disagree with me, which is exactly what friendship should be. Now I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking. You're thinking, that's easy for her to say. She's healthy. She's not dealing with real health problems. And you're right. I've been lucky in many ways. But I also think luck is something you create, at least partially. I've watched too many people my age give up at the first diagnosis, the first prescription, the first time someone tells them they need to slow down. I've watched brilliant, vibrant people disappear into their illnesses, not because they had to, but because they thought they were supposed to. I'm not saying you should ignore serious health problems or stop taking medication you genuinely need, but I am saying you should question everything. Ask why you need each medication. Ask what would happen if you tried a different approach. Ask if the side effects are worth it. Ask if there are other options. And most importantly, ask yourself who you want to be in whatever time you have left. Because here's what I've learned. You can be sick and still be yourself. You can be old and still be yourself. You can have limitations and still be yourself. But you can't be passive about your own life and still be yourself. Every day I make choices about who I want to be that day. Some days I choose to be the woman who calls her congressman about issues that matter to me. Some days I choose to be the woman who bakes cookies for the new neighbors. Some days I choose to be the woman who sits in my garden and reads poetry and remembers what it felt like to be young and in love. But every day I choose to be present in my own life. I choose to pay attention. I choose to care about things. I choose to have opinions and express them. I choose to keep learning, keep growing, keep changing. And let me tell you something else. Age is not a disease. Getting older is not something that happens to you. It's something you participate in. You get to decide how you age. You get to decide what kind of old person you're going to be. And introduce yourself to the person looking back at you. Not the person other people see when they look at you. The person you see. The person who has lived through everything you've lived through. Who has survived everything you've survived. Who has learned everything you've learned. That person is not old. That person is experienced. That person is not declining. That person is evolving. That person is not winding down. That person is just getting started on the next chapter. And if your doctor can't explain why you're doing so well, tell them it's because you decided to live instead of just existing. Tell them it's because you chose to be the author of your own story instead of letting other people write it for you. Tell them it's because you remembered that age is just a number, but spirit is forever. My name is Eleanor. I'm 89 years old, and I'm not done yet, not even close. And neither are you. Now go live like you mean it.